Of Bodycam Heroes, an exclusive Fox News at Night segment where we bring you stories of heroic police officers across the country. Law enforcement expert Aaron Cohen is live to break down the video. Aaron.
Hey, Trace, welcome to Bodycam Heroes. Tonight, newly released footage from the Burbank Police Department rushing into a burning apartment building to save 2 children. You'll see here, Trace, from the footage that we're looking at, officers from Burbank PD, including Sergeant Diaz, making their way into this structure. Very limited light, very limited capacity to breathe, doing their best to clear all the debris out of the way, working their way to the back corner of the structure. Full tunnel vision, complete auditory exclusion, but the officers are purely relying on their hearing ability. As they make their way to the corner, you can see that big flash that just hit. They start pulling back out again. Sergeant Diaz on scene right now with his other officers, now making their way back into the corner of that apartment structure, getting into the last corner of that apartment to get to the 2 children. One's a young girl, another one a child in a crib. They finally make contact with the actual children. The moment they get in, remember, very hot, tunnel vision, auditory exclusion. Get hands on the girl as well as the baby. Start making their way or egressing out to the outside or external part of that apartment building. Entire segment or entire operation, or call out, Trace, approximately a minute in and out.
Yeah, it's just crazy. That's amazing video. Aaron, thank you. Back to you in moments. Thank you. We'll bring in the responding officers from the Burbank Police Department, Sergeant Christian Diaz and Officer Jose Placencia. Officer Placencia, it sounds to me like when you listen to that video that were you coughing as you went in there? Because the smoke, you can hear some coughing. You can see it's really hard to get a view. When you're going in there, what are you thinking?
I mean, we're just trying to get to these kids. We can hear their voices. It's hard to breathe. It's hard to see anything in there.
Right.
Our goal is just to make it back there and get to the children.
Yeah. I'm just worried, Sergeant Diaz, when you're in there, do you worry, how are we going to get out? How are we going to get out of this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. My biggest concern was we couldn't see, we couldn't breathe. We didn't know where the children were. We could see flames starting to generate. So we tried our best to make our way quickly to the back.
Could you hear the children?
We couldn't see, but we could hear the children screaming, which you can hear on the body camera.
Right.
And our only clue as to where they were was following the screams.
Really?
Yes.
And I think, Officer Placencia, if we can see, because we can see kind of both of you thinking, you're saying, where are you at? Did you hear the kids answering? Could they answer?
Yes, there was definitely one screaming, and we could definitely hear the screams.
Yeah, and do you, because as you go in there, almost like a maze, are you concerned that you can find your way back out?
It was definitely a concern. Luckily, it was a small apartment, but it was definitely on our minds. Yeah,
and so what is the process, Sergeant Diaz? You go in, you grab these kids. What's the deal? Do you put blankets over them? Is there standard operating procedure that we should know about as we look at this video?
It's funny because there is no standard operating procedure when it comes to something like this.
Really?
We just acted on instinct, grabbed the child, ran out as fast as I could safely because I didn't want to trip and fall.
Yeah.
As soon as I got out, I started consoling her and waited for the paramedics. I could hear them arriving. My goal was to get her to the ambulance as soon as possible.
Did these kids suffer any kind of ill effects? Did they have to be taken to a hospital? Were they fine when you got them out? Was it the kind of a nick of time thing, officer?
They were transported to a hospital. From there, we went to different places, so I'm not sure what happened there. But
yeah.
Definitely transported to a hospital.
Yeah. Do you follow up and things like that, Sergeant Diaz? Do you say, because you can hear the children screaming like, "Get me out! Get me out!" You can hear the crying right there. Right. I mean, what is that like when you're taking?
I mean, to this day, I can still hear those children screaming. It's a very distinct memory that I won't forget. I have children of my own, so this was very personal. I'm glad we were able to save them.
And how did you know that kids were in there? Were the parents outside telling you that kids were in there?
No, some neighbors said that they didn't know where the parents were, but they knew that there were children inside, and they could hear the faint screams from outside. So as soon as we got there, the neighbor said, "You guys got to go save those kids."
Yeah.
So we ran in and did our job.
Yeah, and back to Aaron Cohen, who's joined us back here in the desk here. I mean, it's one of those things where we see this type of heroism a lot. But now that we have body cameras, we get to see it for ourselves a lot.
Yeah, it's like the real-time cops playing out, Trace. I mean, you got heroes across this country. Is 15,000 agencies, almost 1 million sworn. So officers aren't firemen. They didn't have PPE, running against their instinct, which is to not go into a building. These guys can't see. I can tell you from the footage, they couldn't see.
Right.
Purely relying on their auditory ability. That was the tactical tool of the moment right there. You don't have time to wait for the fire guys, and I think these guys stepped up. These are body cam heroes, and that's why these stories need to come out. It was done right on that day, and those kids are alive because of these two gentlemen.
Officer Placentia, I mean, one of those things, afterwards you think, that was tough, but it was well worth it.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah, and your final thoughts?
I'm glad we were able to save the children. It was definitely a scary time. I won't lie. We were scared as we were doing it, but we had a job to do, and we saved them.
Yeah, we are glad as well. Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate it, and congratulations. Nice work. All the heroism accolades should go to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.